So what I wanted to do today was create a short video on our healthcare philosophy, essentially what we believe. I think it's vitally important that you go to a healthcare provider who believes what you believe about health so that they sync up and you can have the best experience possible. So what is a philosophy? If you look it up in the dictionary, it says the study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence, especially when considered as an academic discipline. So really simply put, when you break down philosophy, it is the love of wisdom. We live in an age of science where I call it scientism. It becomes very dogmatic. Science is limited by the questions you ask it. That's why you can find scientific articles, for example, saying how great coffee is and how horrible coffee is, or how amazing dairy products are and how horrible dairy products are. When you're going about it from a scientific perspective only, you limit yourself. You have to understand the philosophy, which is more of the logic and the reasoning behind things. To me, this should be the foundation. So what we have to understand is we all have a philosophy, but some of us sort out our philosophy very organized, some of us don't. Let's go over our current philosophy in our healthcare. So the current program we have is called allopathic model of health, and it's medical care. That's where the standard person goes for healthcare. So if we understand their philosophy, number one, it's based on something called a mechanistic view of health. Pretty much that you're a machine. So just like a machine, over time the parts break and you have to replace them. And sometimes, a machine only has a certain lifespan. So if you have a car, you know you're going to get maybe 5-10 years out of your car and then it's done. You have to get a new car. This is the way our current healthcare views our body. It's also based on the fact of there being things called diseases. So a disease is an entity you get that you have to kind of drive out of your body. Because of that, many diseases they say are incurable. The only thing they're trying to do is give you symptom relief. So if you have a headache, you take a pill for it, right? Not the cause of your problem, they're just trying to get you relief, and they'll tell you that's exactly what they're trying to do. If you have tight muscles, they give you muscle relaxers. If you have trouble sleeping at night, they'll give you something to put you to sleep. So essentially, our healthcare today is, okay, let's look at you, you're a machine. Most of the stuff is over time you're going to just break down, so let's give you relief in the process of that. As a result of that, you're a lifelong customer. It becomes very expensive. It's the #1 cause of bankruptcy in our country, and it is extremely dangerous. People don't know this. Our healthcare is the #1 cause of death in our country today. It kills close to 1 million people a year, so it's very dangerous with our healthcare model. Now, at Pure Life, we have what's called a vitalistic model. So instead of looking at you like you're a machine, we look at you like you're a living creature. Kind of like a plant. So think about taking care of a radio versus taking care of a plant. How you would take care of them, it would be completely different. If the radio's breaking down, yeah, you would take it apart, find the part that's not working and replace it. But if the plant isn't working well, what we do is we go to the soil, we give it all the things it needs, and we understand the fact that plant's going to take care of itself and heal. So if I give that plant the proper soil, the proper light, the proper water, it's going to come back all on its own. It may not happen that day, but it's going to take time. It's going to grow back into health. That's how we view the human body. We don't have disease in our model, and I'm going to get into that to the next slide because that's hard for people to get. In our understanding, ease is what's the normal. Ease is the entity, not disease. Ease will lead to, or if ease is the entity, when you lose that, your body's in a state of dis-ease, or not in ease anymore, which will lead to symptoms later on, which we call disease. But ease is our focus. Health is our focus, not disease. As a result of that, our main focus is not symptomatic relief, it's to restore function of the body. It's very inexpensive because it comes from inside of you, and it's extremely safe. We're not doing anything to harm your body. Nothing we give you is poisonous. We don't believe in that. We believe in making your body as healthy as possible instead. So what do I mean by when I say there's no such thing as disease? Well, what is disease? If you look at any disease, it's a collection of symptoms that you put a name to. So, for example, what is diabetes? Well, it's a collection of symptoms, right? It's a collection of signs. But when you break it down, what are symptoms? Symptoms are actually signs that cells aren't functioning correctly. So ask yourself this question: if all the cells in your body were functioning correctly, would you be sick? So let's take it with the pancreas, right? You have all these cells in your pancreas, and they're supposed to be making this thing called insulin. And if your body makes the proper amount of insulin, you put sugar away properly, okay? If all the cells are doing their job, you're okay. Now what happens if some of those cells stop functioning? If some of the cells in your pancreas stop functioning, they stop producing the proper amount of hormone, or proper amount of insulin specifically. As a result of that, you might start to get symptoms of that. You might start to put on weight. You might start to be thirsty more often. You might start to have neuropathies because sugar is a neurotoxin and now it's in your bloodstream. Now all of a sudden you have all these symptoms. You go to the doctor and he gives you a name for it, which is what they call a diagnosis or a disease. He calls it diabetes, right? Their solution: give you a pill. Making too low of insulin, let's give you insulin to boost that up. We don't do that. We say, well, why aren't the cells functioning? If the cells of the pancreas were functioning, you wouldn't be sick. So instead of giving you a pill and managing a disease, we understand the disease is just a name. It really doesn't exist. What's really happening are the cells of your body aren't working correctly. So what do we need to do? How do we nurture these cells to make them function correctly again? If that makes sense. So let's take this one step further. What controls all the function? So if you take a cell needs really two things in order to survive. The most important thing a cell needs is connection to the nervous system. So every cell of your body has a nerve touching it that is connected to your brain, and that's because the brain is sending something called life energy. They call it chi, they call it prana, whatever you want to call it. There's a life force from the brain down the nerves out to the cells of your body. That's why if you cut a nerve, let's say I cut the nerves going to my heart, what happens to my heart? It dies, right? The nervous system is responsible for controlling all the function of every cell of the body. So every cell needs a pure connection to the nervous system. But also, you need to deliver the proper fluids to the cell. The cell needs nutrition going into it, which is the circulatory system, the blood system, but it also needs the sewage. So the cells are making a lot of waste every day, just like we are, right? And it needs sewage to get out. So that's called the lymphatic system. It's actually 80% of all the fluid in your body is lymphatic fluids, and we'll talk about that. But let's first talk about the nervous system. If you look at the nervous system, let me get my little handy dandy notepad here. Every single cell of your body, so here are the nerves, the spinal cord coming down, and as you can see, what happens is as you get down, certain nerves branch out and they actually develop all of the organs. So a really good way to look at this is the center of your being, your spinal cord, your brainstem, and your brain. Every message is generated in this area. All this life energy it comes down the spinal cord, out the nerves, to every single cell of your body. It's how your heart beats, it's how your lungs breathe, it's how you digest food, it's how your intestinal tract moves, it's how your sex organs down here make certain hormones. All of this is done by the nerve system. If I cut these nerves, boom, just like that, not going to work. We call this the law of life. The law of life states that every single cell of your body needs a connection to the nervous system. If it's not connected, it dies. Now, we practice something called upper cervical care. To me, it's the most important thing you could ever do for your health, and here's the reason why. If this is a healthy person on the right, you can see the brain up in the skull, and that little red right inside of there is called your brainstem. It's generating all the life energy, and the top bone of your neck, it's in yellow, it's called your atlas vertebra, is protecting that. It is the most important area of your body because it's generating all the life energy. But what happens to a lot of people, you can see on this left, they get into an accident, a fall, even the birthing process, where they pull and tug on the head. What'll happen is it'll move that top bone out of place. It'll start to put pressure on the brainstem, and all the messages from the brain and the brainstem won't get to the body, and your body will start to break down and die as a result of that, or the cells won't function And as a result, symptoms will start to grow in the body, and then we eventually call that a disease. This is the source of it all, getting to that. So our care, we really focus on that top bone of that neck because that dictates all of the electrical energy in your entire body. And again, as the fluids of the body, let's talk about it. You have the circulatory system, which is the heart, all the arteries and veins and capillaries that are delivering nutrition. So the whole purpose of the blood system is it delivers oxygen and it delivers nutrition and hormones to the cells. The lymphatic system is something that most people don't know about, and it's actually arguably even more important. It's 80% of all the fluid, as I said before, and this is kind of the waste removal. So if we take this example, you got water coming in to a house and you have sewage coming out of the house. You would never mix the water and the sewage together. And your cell is the same way. So in a cell, you have the clean water coming in, which is the blood, and you have the lymphatics going out. Okay? We need these fluids to be moving constantly and flowing constantly. If you lose flow, you get stagnation. So think of a swamp. If you have a stagnation of water, mosquitoes flock there, bacteria and disease likes to settle in those places. So we need those fluids constantly moving. So there are certain things that we can do to make sure our waters are very clean and healthy. Really simply put, if you spend more time cleaning and less time poisoning the water, that's the whole trick to this thing. And you can actually control how fast and how much you clean. So I'm going to go through some things here. Fasting is the fastest way to control how fast you clean the fluids of your body. If you water fast or dry fast or don't eat any food, you're actually going to keep cleaning those waters and keeping those waters churning. Fruits also clean. The more fruits you eat, they're very cleansing to the blood and to the lymphatic system. And vegetables clean slower. They're more neutral. They don't poison us. Cooked foods will stop a detox process. They'll actually start to put a little bit of gunk into our fluids. Meats, dairies, sugars, lots of wheat today also will be very unclean and poison us. And obviously medicines and toxins which are surrounded by poison us. So the trick to cleaning the water is really spending a lot of time, or at least having a fasting protocol, which we teach people in our office, having lots of fruits and vegetables at hand, eating those things every day, and then limiting the other foods that we have listed here. So here is our basic philosophy summed up. You are living and you are vital. You are not a machine. You are more like a plant. Treat yourself like one. Everything is curable. Incurable means curable from within, but there's no disease on the planet that people haven't healed from. So whether it's terminal cancers, paralysis, blindness even, people have healed from it. Look into it. It's pretty amazing stuff. But you have to treat your body more like a plant, not like a machine. It's not about taking body parts out and replacing them. Our focus is restoring function instead of painting over rust or patching up symptoms. The whole point of it is you fix the nervous system first. It is the foundation for health. We use upper cervical chiropractic care. There's nothing I've found more powerful than getting the top bone of your neck put back properly. I do not recommend twisting the neck, cracking the neck. I do not recommend getting adjusted more than once a week at most at first. That's a lot to get adjusted. You shouldn't need to get many adjustments, and I'll get into that later on. Clean the blood and lymphatic system, and do this by your fasting and eating fruits and vegetables. Pretty much it can be summed up this way. Your body was created to coincide with nature. You live according to the laws of nature and you can expect health. Now in this section I've loaded it with a lot of videos on upper cervical care, on the fluids of the body, so you can get a way more intimate explanation of our philosophy and what we believe. So please take the time, go through our videos. And again, if you have any information or any questions or comments, give us a call, 561-808-8092. I'd love to hear from you, or email us. We give free consultations and exams, so please give us a call.